Hello.
Hello, everyone.
If making and keeping campground reservations is a challenge for you as you travel in your RV, stay tuned. We have some solutions for you.
That's right. Hello, everyone. We're Brian Llewellyn Street of Where the Streets Wander. That's an RV website that offers education, inspiration, and encouragement for the RV life.
That's right. So we want to welcome everybody who's joining us today. And if you're watching this on the replay, welcome also. We are so glad that you tuned in for this RV living show. So as we said before, we're going to be talking about making reservations and recording them and making a better campground reservation. So the whole title was 8 steps to making a better campground reservation. So we're going to cover those 8 steps today. So before we get started, we want you to note that there is a free printable waiting for you at either above this video or below this video. We have given you a free campground reservation log, and that is the elements that we're going to be talking about today. So be sure to grab yours. It's all the way free. And so if you're on YouTube, it's below. If you're on Facebook, it's above. So take advantage of that and get that so that you can start making your campground reservations easier and more thorough.
That's right. You know, one of the first things I guess we could talk about is the reason why you should make a campground reservation.
Right. Well, let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, years ago when we started out RVing, it seemed to be a whole lot easier to kind of take off and kind of plan as you go, should I say, or you could kind of switch plans around. But today, for so many people who enjoy this lifestyle and so many RVs on the road, it is necessary that you plan ahead. There's no way around it. If you're going to do any type of traveling or especially if you're a full-timer, you've got to plan ahead.
Well, and it's even more important when you want to go to those most coveted places.
Right.
So, and that's why we created the campground reservation log, is so that we could keep track of our own reservations and know where we were going and what was going to be there for us when we got there. So let's get started.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so when you're calling a campground, you're doing 2 things. So if you're making a reservation or you're planning a trip, let's just start there. You're planning a trip, you're planning your next RV destination. You're calling the campground to do 2 things. The first one is shop for it. Like maybe there's a couple in the area and you just want to gather information. And the other part is where you're actually reserving it. So we're going to talk about how this campground reservation log does both for you.
That's right.
So this is the first of the 8 steps. And so when you're shopping and making your campground reservations, we want to make sure you get the correct campground address. So
Absolutely.
Tell us why.
There's a lot of reasons. You know, you're going to be probably putting this in your GPS to start with. And not only get the correct address, but very important to ask, will this address work correctly with the GPS?
Yeah, we've done that
We've
before.
done that, and we've ended up places we shouldn't have been.
Right. And a lot of times the campground will tell you, don't use that address, and they'll give you the right one. Yeah. But we wanted this on the campground reservation log.
You know, somebody is new behind the desk. Maybe they don't realize they should tell you. But this is a very important question to ask, because campgrounds are put in some of the interesting places, I'll say that.
They are. They're either really far out or right next to the highway, and they're on some loop road or something. Yeah. So the other thing about getting the campground address is that maybe you're a full-timer and you want to get your Amazon packages delivered or your mail packages delivered. So getting the correct campground address and then asking if you can have mail delivered that's a great.
Yeah, make sure it's a good mailing address.
That's right.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so the next step you want to take is to get all the pricing options.
Yeah, this is important. This is something we didn't do at first, but we realized that we were missing out on something here, because we'd have to keep calling them back. You know, once you have all the pricing, like your daily price, your weekly price, even a monthly price, and if plans change as you're traveling, which they do, plans do change. Maybe you want to stay longer, or maybe you want to, take advantage of a monthly rate. That's all stuff that when you gather that information, you've got it written down, and it makes it a lot easier to make a decision
Well, a decision and then a change.
A change, absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you want to change, maybe you love it there and you want to now extend, you already know how much the pricing is.
Right.
And, you know, we've talked a lot in the past about how monthly stays are less expensive. And so having all the pricing options can help you make a better decision. Okay, so the next thing we want you to do on your campground reservation log and for your campground reservation is to find out which campgrounds or campground memberships would apply to this campground.
Right. If you can save some money, obviously you're traveling. It's worth finding out which ones they accept.
That's right. And even ask for, we're first time here. Do you have a first timer discount? Or maybe you're military and they don't actually promote their military discounts on their webpage or whatever. Ask. Always ask. It never hurts to ask so you can get a discount. And then we found that a lot of times, you know, Good Sam offers you that straight 10%. Pretty much almost all campgrounds honor that. You do have to ask for it though. Sometimes they want to apply it. But then there's some others like Passport America. If they're a Passport America park, Passport America's rates will save you a lot of money if they're a park and you're staying there for just 1 or 2 days.
If they accept it, absolutely.
Right.
It will save you some money.
So that's something else to think about.
Now, there's some of the parks we go to when you're making the reservation, they'll ask you which memberships you have, which they're thinking ahead, but typically you have to ask them.
Right. Yes. Right. Because I mean, we've made them before, and this was back before we trained ourselves properly to use this campground reservation log. And I would ask him, he made the reservation. Well, did you get a Good Sam discount? Oh, I forgot. And then we'd show up and we'd show our card and then they'd knock the price off. But it's so much easier to do it when you're actually on the phone with them.
That's right. Got them on the phone. Take care of it.
That's right. Okay, so the next step in making a better campground reservation is to be sure to find out the cancellation policy before you actually reserve your site.
Yeah, this is important. This is something we learned the hard way. But you really got to know the cancellation policy before you even reserve it, because if you go to a campground that they won't give you, but they require like a day, a full day,
a full night deposit.
Right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. We won't reserve there. Typically.
Well, if it's non-refundable.
If it's non-refundable, no, we typically.
And that's the key point.
That's the key point.
That if you don't cancel within, I'm fine if they're like, if you cancel 24 hours ahead, we'll give you your deposit back. But if it's non-refundable and your deposit, so no matter how soon, like if I called in the next 20 minutes and canceled it, they'd keep my $45 a night deposit.
Yes.
Yeah,
we have found campgrounds that will do that.
They're doing it more and more because people are canceling and they're not following through on their reservations. And they're not just taking, like KOA has a tendency to do a $10 kind of an admin fee, but most of the time, if they're asking for a full night and they won't give it back to you, I mean that's a lot of money. It adds up really quick too. So
yeah, most campgrounds, if you find out that they'll like have you cancel within like 48 hours or even 7 days, that's fine. If you know what you're working with, you can plan accordingly.
Because there's been a couple times where we've made reservations and then we kind of shifted our travel plans. Instead of going 300 miles that way, we decided to stay in this area and we wanted to stay. Well, we could look at our next reservation and determine by the cancellation policy whether or not we wanted to make those changes and how much it was going to impact us financially.
That's right.
So the next thing to do is to find out from the campground what amenities they have and then which ones are important to you. The campground reservation log has a whole list of them, and you can add a couple of things that you think of that are important for you. But if they don't have what you're looking for and you're still in the shopping phase of looking at the campground reservation, then those amenities, some people like, what are some really important ones?
Like if they have like a store, you can go in and buy little things, or maybe they offer firewood or propane
or ice.
Those make a difference in where you're staying, especially if you find campgrounds in a certain area that are very close in price, you pick the one with the best amenities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would just make sense.
For me, I'm always looking for a hot tub. I want that amenity. So, okay. So now these first 7, no, not 7. Hold on, let me subtract here. 8 minus 3, 5. 5 tips that we've given you so far. You can still use these in your shopping phase of finding your campground. So now, if you've gotten all this information and you're like, yep, I want to stay there, I want to reserve this. Now we're going to shift to the things that you should really record and keep track of. Right. So this one is record the date you were reserving. Very important, because to know what the date you're reserving and what day you're leaving. This is something that we added into our log, because as you're traveling, you may want to plan to stay at one place a few days longer. Well, and then that whole overlap. I don't know if anybody's gotten their brain twisted up when making reservations about, oh, I'm leaving on the 26th, then I'm going to the next one on the 26th. So you actually have, you know, it's not two, it's 2 reservations, but you're leaving and coming, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, am I leaving this day? I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little confusing. Yes. Especially if you're not doing it a lot, you know. So okay, so the next thing you want to record is the check-in and check-out times. Oh yes, this is important too, because if maybe you're going to be arriving earlier, you want to know what time to check in. Sometimes they'll allow you if the site is vacant, but you'd have to call ahead and maybe check with that first. And sometimes they simply don't want you there until it's after the check-in time. Yeah, maybe if they had to clean out the fire pits, or they had some other reason that they don't want you in there sooner. And the same thing with checkout. You can always ask for an extension to stay. Some campgrounds charge you to stay. Others, they don't care, as long as that you're out before the next person comes in, or maybe they don't have someone coming in on that site. Right. So checkout's important too, because I mean, you obviously don't want to be charged extra. No, you don't. And by recording those on your campground reservation log, then it's just one more detail to your reservation that you don't have to think about. It's all right there for you. It also makes travel planning a little easier too. Like if we're going to the next campground that's only like 50 or 100 miles from where we left, then we know what time we need to actually leave so that we can check in correctly. Yeah. So for full timers, that's definitely something that we pay close attention to. Right. And so the last thing is that if you're actually going to pay and make this reservation and give them the deposit, you need to record how much you paid and the balance due. That's important. That is important. So and also this comes into the cancellation policy, right? Right. So if you have to cancel, you'll know what deposit you should be getting back. Yeah, getting back or sacrificing if you choose to cancel. Because when you start getting 20, 30 reservations out there, it's hard to remember all this. It is. So, and thus that's why this log was created. So asking all the right questions and recording all the answers in one easy to use place is the whole point of the campground reservation log. We just want to make it easier for all of you out there with your RV travels to have this available to you. So if you think that this is a really cool way of travel planning and you would like to expound on this thought of being more strategic, making better reservations, being able to travel plan more effectively, we do have a RV travel planner, and that can be found at rvtravelplanner.com. And our campground reservation log is actually the cornerstone of the RV travel planner. And we created that campground reservation log to solve a lot of our problems, and then we took it a step further and made it a whole travel planning system. Yes, it really takes you to the next level. And if you'd like to keep track of where you're going and where you've been, and really understand, keep making reservations, simplifying, should I say, your reservations. Yes, simplify your travel plan. You really need to look at this, because it is something we developed because it's out of necessity. We did, for us. Out of necessity. And we've got such great feedbacks on. Yep.
The people really enjoy using it.
Yeah, so check it out at rvtravelplanner.com. We just released the 2021 version. A lot of people were emailing us, asking us when's it going to be out because they're already planning for 2021. So check it out. We've also expounded on or improved upon the campground reservation log, and there's some more details that are in the travel planner only. So you should check it out.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention we organized it and made it just, it's really easy to use, and it's
got more details.
More detail,
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, guys, let me jump in here to the comments for a second and see who's watching with us. Rosemary says hi. Hi, Rosemary. And Kimberly says you guys are awesome. Aw, thank you. Charles says, hey there. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Oh, Kayla, thanks. She says, good advice. Y'all are awesome. Oh, thanks. Oh, she says, yeah, hot tub is important to her too. So when you drive in your RV all day, you just kind of want to relax when you're done. So
kind of hard to find that hot tub all the time.
It is. It is. Oh, that's for sure. Well, next week we are going to be talking about, let me read my title here, why you should plan ahead for your next RV destination. We're going to have some tips there and really encourage you to look at that as a way to just be able to enjoy all of your RV travel in a greater and more enjoyable way.
That's right. So
we will be here next week, same time, same place, YouTube and Facebook, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and that's Wednesday afternoons. So we'll see you next week.
See you there.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Bye.